Hello, I'm Stamping Journal Editor Kate Bachman. I'm here today with Paul Belanger, R&D Director at Gestamp. Paul, welcome.
Hi, Kate. Nice to see you again.
Can you tell me a little bit about your role at Gestamp and about Gestamp itself?
Sure. So Gestamp is a multinational company based out of Spain. We have operations in just about everywhere automotive happens, whether it's manufacturing or engineering. And my role in the R&D Center is part of the overall Gestamp R&D network to basically create innovations, either in product or process, to help our customers design and build lighter and safer vehicles.
Excellent. Well, Gestamp is known worldwide and a really an outstanding company. So I'm so pleased you could be with us today.
Thanks for having me here.
Well, speaking of innovations, I know you were here at FABTECH to view some of them. Can you tell me some of the technologies that you're here to see?
Yeah, so we're looking at manufacturing innovations that help us with some of our product innovations that we're designing with our customers, specifically around laser processing, laser joining, laser cutting, as well as some other processes that I can't go into too much detail, again involving lasers, as well as some other automation technologies.
And have you seen anything that interests you or that is, kind of a standout?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny when you start talking to some of the vendors and you understand a little bit more about what they do, how that kind of daisy chains into other technologies that we could implement with some of our product innovations. So, yeah, again, in the same areas, can't get into too many specifics because some of them are involve some intellectual property that we hope to come out eventually. So, but yeah, very good opportunities, I think.
Very cool. Well, I know it's a large show, probably not as large as our usual shows, but I hope that you had an opportunity to see a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, it seems like I probably just scratched the surface. I think I ended up talking to maybe a dozen vendors, and there's hundreds here. So, but still, a really good opportunity.
Excellent. Excellent. So, looking ahead, this year and last year have been very tumultuous years, and what kinds of challenges have the pandemic and the chip shortages and just supply disruptions? What kinds of challenges have they created for Gestamp and for you?
Yeah, and I probably answer this probably not just for Gestamp, but I imagine a lot of automotive suppliers out there. I think obviously everybody had to deal with the pandemic, where it really just shut down everything, back in Q2 of 2020, right? But the rebound happened a lot quicker than I think folks, had planned for it. And that started some of these supply chain disruptions that we're starting to see. So, what we're facing right now, really two main areas. One is the chip shortage and the unpredicted downtime that's really causing the whole industry, and we see that as well. And then, the second is with the labor shortage. There's just a shortage of, critical skilled workers, at least in the U.S. workforce. So it's a challenge, those two things.
So, have you found any sort of reasonable solutions for some of the? Let's start with the skilled labor shortage. Have you, been able to kind of breach that gap?
So, it's something that I think, again, Gestamp as well as probably a lot of other suppliers, we kind of have to think outside the box. So how do we attract younger people to get into the manufacturing community, right? And I think we saw one study that says really by the time kids get into ninth grade, they're kind of set on where they want to go. And so there was a lot of outreach getting into the high schools, but you almost have to go in earlier than that. And so we've got a couple different programs in place, one in outside of Charleston, West Virginia, and the one in our Chattanooga, Tennessee area, where we're really trying to partnership with the school systems to introduce manufacturing, obviously show the positives of it from a career standpoint, and then also put together apprenticeship programs where students can start while they're in high school working towards their journeyman card. We're side by side in an apprenticeship program with a journeyman in our plants. In fact, our program in Chattanooga was so successful it got the attention of the Gates Foundation, and so Bill and Melinda Gates visited that and really highlighted these innovative ways of how we can try to attract and solve some of that worker shortages. But there's a lot to do in that area.
I agree. I believe you. Just yesterday here at the show, I visited a booth that has developed a sort of a virtual reality view into a press shop, not with the glasses, but with an iPad. And so they were showing me how they could actually sort of virtually place a press in a shop and see how it fits and what doorway it could go through and things like that. But then also that they could virtually look into the press, see right down to particular parts and components. If something's broken or there's some leak, they can look right at it, face it, and then an expert in a remote area could then advise them as how to react on that or what replacement parts they need. One of the interesting topics, advantages that they brought up was that they thought that this type of thing would attract a younger generation to the field. Do you think that those kinds of things are really successful in attracting the Y, G, the end of the alphabet generations?
Yeah, it's so funny because that was one of those guys that I stopped at and I saw exactly what you're talking about. And it's really incredible how they can, basically do an exploded view of all the components in the press and, highlight that one part that needs to be replaced, and then it goes through, virtually how you would go about doing that replacement. So it's all in there. And I think that does attract, to the younger, generations who have grown up, with that, virtual world, right? Starting obviously with games, but again, it's very familiar to them. So it's a great tool, I think, to help, again, bridge getting that younger generation into the manufacturing work stream.
And then another thing you mentioned in terms of challenges was, obviously the chip shortage. And I know you attended the car MBS and I streamed into it. And the chip shortage was mentioned on almost every session. One of the speakers I recall had said that they had to learn to be really, really nimble and to expect, changes on a daily basis. He said, today we're working 2 shifts, tomorrow we're working 1 shift. What kinds of strategies does a really large company like Gestamp, and I think you have something like 4,000 employees worldwide, how on earth do you manage some, these disruptions and chip shortages and things?
So it's really forced us to be a lot more nimble, I think, than what we've had to be in the past. Gestamp is a very large company, actually 40,000 people worldwide.
I said 4,000, yes,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
40.
It's a big company.
Yes.
And you're right. I think it's definitely has. We have to work very, very closely with our customers. I don't know if anybody really has the kind of visibility into the chip supply chain that they'd like, so that they can do a better job of predicting, where we're going to be. So right now we're all kind of reacting, and we have to be extremely flexible. So, some of the things that we're doing right is when we do get unexpected downtime, we're trying to take advantage of that, pulling ahead preventive maintenance work that we have. Right now, we're focusing here in the U.S. on some really critical EV launches with some of our customers. So we've got several programs that we're launching right now for new electric vehicles. So that allows us to spend, again, because we have this labor shortage, right, where we're really struggling with getting the people. When we do have a few, unexpected downtime, we're able to, again, utilize those people that we do have to help focus on some of the quality loops that we need to do for these EV launches. So, a couple of things that we're just trying to do what you can, during those unpredictable times.
Well, Paul, you brought up the EV launches, and that's one of my favorite topics. How exciting that you're involved in that and this evolution into the EV, automotive space. Can you talk about any of those launches? Some of your customers, and I know we've talked in the past, and I've asked you, which automakers you work for or supply to, and you pretty much said all of them.
Right.
So are all of them launching EVs pretty much?
Yeah. So I think every OEM has some type of electrification in their product portfolio, right? Some are a little bit more ahead than others. The ones that we're focusing on right now that we're launching are a little bit more with the German OEMs, but all of the OEMs really are focusing on that, and some of the other ones are going to follow shortly. So it is exciting from a body and chassis and mechanisms perspective, which gestamp plays in. Some things are very similar, but some things are very different. You know, when you have instead of an internal combustion engine that's very heavy in the front of the vehicle that sits up a little bit high, you know, with electric vehicles, you have a very heavy battery that sits very low in the vehicle, so low center of gravity, but yet it changes how you have to manage the energy, how you have to design the vehicle. That's something that we're experts in. So we like to help our customers design, really good product with those changes in mind, right? That still is, you have to get lighter. You know, lightweight is definitely related to battery range, right? Range is one of the key consumer metrics of electric vehicles. So it's exciting because it's bringing these possibilities that we can work with our customers to help them solve some of those solutions.
Great challenges. Well, you're in a great position to do that, and it's such a really excellent company. So, finally, I just wanted to ask you, since we're talking about electrification of vehicles, let's just sort of imagine a little bit what the future holds for automotive and stamping, for automotive. Do you have any sort of projections? And I'm not going to hold you to it, forecast or anything like that, but just some sort of thoughts about what the future holds for automotive in this new industry, the new electric vehicle market.
Yeah. Well, I guess I can talk probably mostly from like a body and a chassis perspective, right? You're still going to need a body, and you're still going to need some chassis parts to make the vehicle function like it has. So I think some of that's going to stay the same. Obviously, again, some of the materials that we use, some of the shapes that we produce, some of the processing that you use to produce those shapes, could change a little bit. But for the most part, it's going to be kind of what we've done for a long time in most great areas. But then when you have like battery trays, that's a different technology. Where it has to be sealed, you have to make sure that you protect the batteries during all the various crash events and stuff like that. So there provides some opportunities maybe for some innovation in that range, both in the body and the battery trays that we're looking at.
And I know that gestamp performs not only stamping, but other processes, forming processes. Can you give me your hit parade again of the different forming processes that you use?
So I think gestamp probably manufactures just about every kind of technology that's in the automotive realm in terms of sheet metal. And so we do cold stamping. Of course, we're probably the world experts in hot stamping. We do roll forming. We have subsidiaries that do a little bit of extrusions now in Europe. So we're really in all the different types of forming. And then for joining, the same thing holds true. Classical resistance spot welding, MIG welding. We're very into laser welding, both remote and tactile. And now getting into some of these multi-material joining technologies, whether it's riveting or with aluminum friction stir welding. So there's a lot of different joining technologies too. And we are in some place around the world. One another, we're into one of those joining technologies as well.
Very cool. So I guess there is one last question. So we are here in Chicago, and you mentioned that you have some family members here in Chicago. So have you seen anything or experienced anything while you're here that is noteworthy?
Yeah, well, of course, there's so much to do in Chicago. It's such a big city. Great time to be here as well. The evenings are great for going out to dining outside. It's just a wonderful time to be able to spend some time here with family as well.
Well, I've reached the end of my questions. Do you have anything else that you think is worth mentioning?
Nope. I think gestamp's very excited with where we're going. The opportunities to help our customers design lighter and safer vehicles using our innovations.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.
Is there anything that you're stating that now is ready for you to see? That's what it is.
Yeah, again, we're really looking a lot at laser processing, laser welding, laser cutting, as well as some of the automation that's out there.
All right. And then we will return at 2 o'clock with editor Eric Lundeen. He's the Tube and Pipe Journal editor, and he will be speaking with someone from Sharp Industries. Come back.